readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears.
Good morning, good afternoon, welcome ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to everyone not sitting on a cushion. Today we are the brothers Gwynne. I am Ed, this is Will.
But only today, of course.
Only today, exactly. Sometimes I might be Will, or Bill actually, because he's quite fun actually, that guy Bill. Anyway, enough of being silly, let's cut that stuff out.
Oh yeah, there'll be no silliness in this video.
No, we're going to talk about our favourite books of all time. No, we're going to talk about our favourite fantasy books. We've already done part of the video, and that was out on the channel a couple of days ago. Hopefully, technical difficulties aside, but go check that out if you want to see the first batch of our favourite fantasy books. We've got 10 here, but today we're going to add in a few honourable mentions, so that's really exciting because it is hard making these lists. They do change probably every other day. And we love to include some honourable mentions because it gives us an opportunity to feel like we're not cheating, but we get to talk about some other books as well.
And the aim is to talk about as many books as possible.
Yes, exactly.
So, there we go.
We enjoy our book hauls, don't we? But number one, William, would you please begin today?
So
I usually go first, don't I? But
it's weird. You've inverted it.
Let's go wild.
But okay, I'm not picking all four.
Yeah, you have.
So this is the Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit, and the one that I would pick is The Two Towers.
Promise?
Promise.
Do you want me to take it out for you?
Why are you obsessed with? Alright, take it out if it pleases you.
Thank you.
So I think that they all kind of mould into one for me at points because of the writing style and the events. They all have amazing parts in each of the. That's the Fellowship of the Ring, not The Two Towers.
I can't read.
And I think that The Two Towers really stands out to me because of some character moments, and it is just a book that overall is just so amazing. I'm going to be rereading them soon, so maybe my opinion will change for that. I had this already in our other video. That is one of my top 10 fantasy books of all time as well. Did you fail to get The Two Towers out?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well,
no, leave it.
No,
that's fine. Leave it.
Just give it to me, precious.
It's better than me at the Gollum impression. Even though we do all try and do a great one in this house. That is how we get respect in this house. Who can do the better Gollum
so
impression?
who's going to choose the film to watch tonight? Okay, do your best Gollum impression.
No, I don't want to do it, precious. It's juicy, sweet.
So Ed gets to pick the film every week.
Yes, we do.
But there we go. Tolkien is one of the kings of fantasy. I don't think I need to say why you should read it. So I won't just repeat what you've been told 1,500 times, but The Two Towers, it's so deserving of its praise. Recently, it's quite weird. I think a lot of people are saying that they don't really like Lord of the Rings. It seems to be a bit of like the thing to do recently.
Yeah, it's a phase. It's not a lifestyle.
No, it seems to be like a bit of like a fashion thing in a weird way to not like Lord of the Rings. And I think it's fine if you don't enjoy it, but don't convince yourself to not enjoy it.
Tolkien basically invented fantasy. What's wrong with him? How dare he?
But yeah, The Two Towers is one of my favourites. So
he has people who aren't warriors, the hero of the story. What's wrong with him?
Okay,
sorry,
we're passionate.
Anyway, the next one on my list. So the first for today is Beowulf. Now, I've chosen this translation by Seamus Haley, but Beowulf, come on, it's basically the original fantastical story, isn't it? It's got Grendel, a nasty, evil giant beast, maybe a giant.
I don't think Tolkien would like you calling him evil.
Well, I'm just
because
saying,
of his lecture.
Well, no, I'm not. It's not my opinion. If you want to see my opinion, go check out our chat on Philip Chase's channel about Old English texts. But you've got monsters, you've got dragons, you've got the influence here that Beowulf has had on Tolkien in the future, and many other fantasy authors as well. So I love Beowulf because of its fantastical nature. It is a historical text as well. We know that I'm a Viking reenactor, so I adore the history that surrounds this, and I feel like I'm reading a part of history as well. I love the kind of synthesis of Christianity and pagans, the religions here, and also I love the commentary that you can take from this. But it's got those monsters that we love to read about. It's got heroes that dare to go above and beyond what is expected of them, and we've got some really kind of grey morals, as well as the realism of human life as well. So I love what Beowulf has to offer. It's one of my favourite fantasy stories. There are some wonderful translations. Tolkien even himself did a prose translation, which is wonderful to read. But I encourage people to go check out as many versions of Beowulf as you can. And definitely go watch the Ray Winston film.
Not quite.
The only time you'll see Ray Winston with a six-pack.
And yeah, I think that's Beowulf. I think a lot of people underestimate Old English poems, thinking that it's all about the glory and the fighting and let's kill someone else. But there's a if I stop stuttering, a sophistication to the poems as well, with a really great exploration of themes, and I think that's quite moving at times as well. But now,
hell yeah,
on to the next one, and that is Ruin by Papa Gwynne. This is my favourite of the Faithful and the Fallen, not because it's dedicated to me with a lovely emotional acknowledgement, which moves me every single time, but apart from that, this has got some of my favourite moments of the entire series. And I think I watched a video by Jessie May recently, and she said that Ruin is her favourite of the Faithful and the Fallen as well.
Good
and
choice.
I think it really does have some of the best moments, doesn't it? I won't name characters or events because of spoilers, but there is a duel which is just, if you've read the Ruin, you know what we're talking
the
about.
Ruin. Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so amazing, and the ending as well.
Yeah.
That is brutal. I mean, Papa Gwynne loves to just put his characters through torment.
Yeah, he comes up with
Doesn't
ways
he?
of torture that I didn't think were possible, and
No,
he
yeah.
eviscerates people in fiction, which
And it
just really upsets me.
You're loving your Chaucer quotes today from Knight's Tale, aren't you? But yeah, not torture as in the
am.
sense of let's sit someone in a chair and hurt them, but torture as in like...
No, because you're
Just
sitting
like-
in a chair while reading it, and it does hurt. So yeah.
Oh yeah, torture to the reader. And well, it's just, obviously, again, as I said with Shadow of the Gods last video, these characters seem so real to us because we've been talking about them for years, as Dada Papa Gwynne has been creating them, and it's so when they're hurt, it just feels like someone's just like punching us in the stomach, doesn't it? And we don't forgive him. So
Hey,
not that we're bitter.
don't read that. Let me do it for you, okay? I wouldn't.
That shows what Ed's intention in life is.
Leave this Tomwick alone. Anyway, on to the next one. Talking of Shadow of the Gods, this is my next entry of my
Oh,
favourite
so much Papa
fantasy
Gwynne.
books. Well, he did pay me 20 quid before I did this video, so I've got to get all those references in there. So, but I think you should go check out A Time of Blood, Time of Dread, Time of...
You did them out of sequence.
out of order. I'm sorry. Anyway, enough of this silliness.
Tangential.
What's wrong with us today? The Shadow of the Gods is one of my favourites because I love Norse history and Norse fantasy as well. The mythology is clearly an influence in the Shadow of the Gods. I've loved reading about these characters. There are characters here that feel very different to those of the Faith and the Fallen and of Blood and Bone, and I love that because it's just shown that Dad can write these different characters that are very, has those grimdark influences. And
Yeah.
I love grimdark. People don't like the term grimdark, but I just, it's so people understand the label that to me it means morally grey people making human choices, and they are very grey. And there are characters here that are very grey.
Mm-hmm.
They make human choices, and that makes me sympathise and relate to them even more. Although I can't relate to people, putting axes and skulls and whatnot, I can relate to the choices that
To the
people
strong
make.
emotions.
Exactly. And the themes and the motifs of the story. But yeah, so I love the Shadow of the Gods. Again, as I said earlier, you guys get it. I'm a Viking reenactor. I love anything with ringmail, and when people call them brynjas, I love it even more. So go check this out if you want some Viking style fantasy.
And you mentioned Grimdark there, so I'm going to go over to Lord Grimdark himself.
you're going to go over to
The dark side.
Watership Down.
Ed has a fear for Watership Down, but maybe we can have a video dedicated to talking about that.
No!
Not again! But I talked about Lord Grimdark last video but talking about The Blade itself, which is the first instalment of the original First Lord trilogy. And Ed talked about Last Argument of Kings. And I'm going to talk about the middle, which is Before They're Hanged, which is my favourite book in the First
You
Lord
love it
trilogy.
so much, it has 3
Four.
bookmarks in.
They're magnets, so if I want to talk about something in a future video or in a review, I put these little book magnets. They're so cool.
That's pretty
So
cool.
I'm going to remember the page and take these up. Look at that. Look at that. Aren't they cool? If I can actually open it. Oh no!
4 hours
What am I
later.
doing? Look, so they open up and you can clip them on a page, as I'm going to do again so I don't lose this. And yeah, so some of them is it's something interesting I find, like a writing technique or something that I want to... Why look at me like that? But anyway, look, there's 4 it means I
That is
love
the most
Before They're
William
Hanged.
thing I've ever seen. Magnets in your book.
I love it so much, and it's so satisfying clipping those magnets on.
Yeah,
But
give
anyway,
me a call
Before
to
They're Hanged, there's so much to talk about. You can check our chat with the Friends Talking Fantasy podcast, which is, we drew them out of their podcast format and made them show their faces on one of our videos. So you can go check that out, or our review of Before They're Hanged as well.
Both.
This is so amazing.
That would be cool, wouldn't it? Both.
That would be pretty cool. But that may be asking too much. But
Maybe.
But Before
Yes,
They're
I put it in
Hanged,
there.
maybe Before They're Hanged, it has one of the best group dynamics of anything I've ever read. Logan, Jezzel, and Glockter are becoming iconic characters.
Oh, that was close.
What did,
No,
I
that was
nearly
close.
said
But,
Ferro. But there's a group of Logan, Jezzel, Ferro as perspectives, and then some others around it as well.
Oh, yeah.
And oh my word, their dynamic and how they interact with each other is absolutely, is glorious.
Yeah.
It is just genius. Every single conversation is electric. It's so funny, and if it's not funny, it reveals so much about the character. Abercrombie just perfectly balances the tone between the severe death and trauma which is everywhere, but also the funny moments that help
so
not
funny.
drag you into just a constant pit of darkness.
Yeah, Pharaoh's insults are just genius, and every
Yeah.
time she swears at Brother Longfair, I just
That
howl
poor
with
man.
laughter.
That poor man.
He deserves every piece of
But
torment.
there we
he
go.
gets.
Before They're Hanged is one of my favourites of all time, and I think the most recent one that
reason.
I've read, which is on this list. Just a little extra nugget.
Thank you, Will. Talking of nuggets, no, joking. The next one is Joe Abercrombie's The Hero. So again, we're so in sync. We're talking about the same authors at the same time. This is why we're brothers. We're related. On to The Heroes then. This is my favourite of Joe Abercrombie's standalones because of the character Gorst. Bremerdan Gorst is probably my favourite First Law character. His monologues are just so funny. I've never had a character make
On
me laugh
Audible
so
as
much.
well.
Audible, the Stephen Pacey narration is brilliant, but also he comes off the page so well as well. I love that Joe Abercrombie tells a story of a battle that it goes on for 3 days, and he tells it all in one book from different point of views, different perspective of the war as well. And I love the twists that unfold in this. And the characters here are brilliant. It's amazing that Joe Abercrombie can write characters that you connect to and you love to read about, all in a standalone. He doesn't have to do the foundation work or set them up for 3 books to make the emotional payoffs feel fantastic. But he does it masterfully, and I think Joe Abercrombie is a genius. I know we like to gush about him, but he just is. The way he writes is fantastic. There is a battle sequence here that is very much akin to the opening of The Revenant, where it goes from someone kills someone, then it goes to their perspective, and so on and so forth until the battle is over. And Joe Abercrombie does this. This is the first time I've ever read anything like this in literature, and it's just so good. So go check this out. This is my favourite, the standalones, one of my favourite Joe Abercrombie books, and one of my favourite fantasy books of all time.
Hence why it's in this video.
Yeah, funny that.
And I think we're getting into the honourable mentions now, aren't
Do you know,
we?
Will, you think correct.
Thank you, Ed. And I'm going to get
You hear that
straight
a lot,
into the
don't
first
you?
one. And this is the second instalment in Brian McClellan's original trilogy.
You love your book twos, don't you?
I
The Two
love-
Towers, Before They're Hanged, and the Crimson
campaign. The Crimson Campaign. So this is
Great cover. I love
Flintlock.
these
This
covers.
is Flintlock Fantasy. Oh yeah, the cover is absolutely beautiful.
Just look.
And so this is Flintlock Fantasy, which is very unique. It's inspired by the French Revolution, initially anyway, in Promise of Blood, which is the first instalment. Crimson Campaign.
I love a good
basically-
revolution.
It's
It's
I
ti-
love a good revolution.
It's been a while since we've had a good one, isn't it?
It depends how you define a good one, Ed. But the Crimson Campaign. So basically, you've got some of your key characters as leading figures in an army, and they cross a border, and they are betrayed, and so they are left stranded in enemy territory, and it's how they have to march hundreds of miles across this land and get back to safety, and they are beset by enemies on all sides.
Sounds like the Chain of Dogs. That's a Malazan reference.
Which I would not understand, so that's why I just gave him the
Sounds
blanket
pretty cool.
look, and it just went over my head.
It went what?
Over my head. But the Crimson
It went
Campaign, no, Ed, you don't know when to stop, do
No.
you? But I think that Brian McClellan really writes it. That's quite a loud motorbike.
That's a hairdryer.
How rude!
Come on, that's a hairdryer.
But the Crimson Campaign, I think that has really got a great tone where you're invested in the characters already from book one. Continues with this, you really feel the stress of making important decisions and how obviously they will impact thousands of people in the army. And you really feel that stress. And because of, Brian McClellan can be quite brutal, he will kill his characters. There is fear for who is involved in this.
Is it really refreshing to read something set in a different kind of historical time period?
Yeah.
Classic medieval fantasy.
Yes, really, really refreshing. I'm really interested in that period of history which this is inspired by.
Yeah.
And so having that transferred into and inspired by into a series such as this, written by a very capable writer with very efficient prose and a really interesting magic system as well. Usually I'm not in it for the magic, but I thought this was really well done. And military fantasy with that flintlock aspect is just awesome.
Very nice. Oh, beautiful. My first honourable mention is Queen Hobbs' Assassin's Apprentice. This is the only Hobb book I've actually read, but I love it. It's really good. It feels like I'm watching... If you've seen the programme Time, where every scene feels emotional, like you're on the verge of tears. And even if it's a happy scene, you're just like... This is not gonna last.
Yeah.
This is what reading Assassin's Apprentice feels like. It is actually an emotional journey, and it is an experience. Some books you read and you kind of flip through the pages, and you kind of shrug it off. But this feels like you don't just read it, you live it. And that's something I love about Robin Hobb's writing. Her prose is so good. I'd love to do a video breaking down her prose. Her use of vocabulary is really important, because what I've realised that you really have to pay attention when you're reading Hobb, because the words she chooses when she describes things towards the beginning, when you introduce to people, really matter by the end. You actually understand her word choices. They're not in there just because she thought, oh, verdant. Sorry, that's just a word that I just remember her using lots of. But you don't just think that she's chosen that just willy nilly. She's choosing it silly
with
Billy.
Purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Do not disrespect anything.
I'm sorry,
in the Farsight trilogy.
Fitz is just a heartbreaking character, and it's brilliant to read. So I'll leave it at that.
You're sick. So I
can't wait to read when he dies. Or does he?
No comment. And the next is Holy Sister, which is
what did you call me?
Ready?
How dare you?
This is not the second instalment. This is the last instalment of the trilogy, Book of the Ancestor, which starts with Red Sister and then Grey Sister.
Is Red Sister the one with the amazing first line?
Yes.
When you have to kill her, when you're killing them.
I think this actually has the same first line.
Well, that'd be...
Nope.
I thought wrong. So that shows how much of a favourite
I was so wrong. It is in this though, because obviously the prologue of Red Sister...
No, don't dig yourself out.
No, the prologue of Red Sister, you go back in time.
I can't hear
straight
over all
after.
that noise. Oh, bloody blah.
That's a line from Koska in...
Nikimo Koska. In...
Holy Sister is the third instalment to the series, and it ends this journey so... Well, damn good. Brilliant. Excellently.
Capital. Absolute capital.
Thank you, Ed. Nona is a really fantastic central protagonist. She is vicious. She gets angry at times, but she's there to root for her friends.
Like any good dog.
She has been...
That sounded really insulting.
You have not read
like
Book.
Potter.
You can tell that Ed has not read Book of the Ancestor.
No, I haven't.
Oh, crikey, see. The ignorance of these people nowadays. I'm just kidding. But Holy Sister is a book that Mark Lawrence is known for his very economic and effective prose, where he leaves enough for you to be really dragged along with the story without it seeming like...
I thought you said drugged.
No, he does not drug you with his words.
Although
it's actually quite close to that you are that immersed into the story.
It's that intoxicating.
Holy Sister is really fantastic. This is a series I would recommend to people who don't really enjoy fantasy as well. It's one of those, along with, I'd say, Kings of the Wild, that if you're an avid reader, you enjoy historical fiction, horror, sci-fi, books, I would say that try Book of the Ancestor out, because it has the characters at the heart of the story. there is magic and it's very interesting, but it doesn't dominate everything. And I think that the setting this is placed in is really interesting as well. And overall, I think that Holy Sister has got so many just great aspects to it that I really think that you should try this out.
Okay, I'll try it out then. I guess so. But should I start?
This
with
pile
book
of
one?
books is getting quite high now.
Well, that's the idea. For me, then, my next honourable mention is Ed McDonald's Blackwing. Now, this is one of the best fantasy books of all time, because Ed McDonald does such a great job with creating this really grim and dark and quite overbearing world. And he drops his characters in the centre of it when they've kind of gone past their golden age. A little bit like Kings of the Wild, but this is like a very dark version. And the main character is kind of like a detective, someone in like a special service, secret service, that kind of thing. And I love reading that kind of style of character and journey in a fantasy book. And Ed McDonald, he has the fantastical elements. He has, similar to what you were saying earlier, William, with Brian McLennan's work, it's kind of a matchlock, flintlock.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
I never knew that.
Well, you do now. Inspired world with amazing characters. There are some fantastic interactions, some really quite heartbreaking scenes, and Ed McDonald does such a good job with this trilogy. I can't wait to see what he's writing next. But the Ravens mark, if you like ravens or crows, then this is a book for you, because there are a lot of them in here and they have quite important roles to play. So if you like craft or anything like that, come read some grimdark crows and ravens. But yeah, I love this book, and I would really recommend this highly on anyone who wants to read any style of fantasy, because Ed McDonald's writing is very smooth and fluid, and you cannot help but get drugged along in this journey of Blackwing.
So now we're on to the final honourable mention, and actually me and Ed have the same one. So why don't we talk about this together? Some teamwork, Let's stop being so disparate from each other and work together.
What should you call me?
So, Blood Song, which is
it's my
Alright, you get to hold it.
Blood
See,
Song.
now I'm going to regret being so protective over it. Actually, I don't regret it.
Blood Song. Your turn. You may go.
The debut by Anthony Ryan
Is fantastic because,
it has Valen Alsorna.
and he is just so,
Amazing.
and he's amazing because
He's so well written.
he is so well written.
Let's stop. But yeah, so Valen Alsorna, we've mentioned, is one of my favourite characters of any book, not just fantasy, any book of all time. He is raised within this academy. It's a bit like in Book of the Ancestor and Hogwarts. Whereas he's raised, it's not like Hogwarts. It's a lot more brutal than that.
No,
but that
no.
you're brought out in
Yeah,
this more insular setting, aren't you, with a group of characters who grow up together and they have their rivalries and their loves for each other as well.
Yeah.
And in the end, they put their rivalries aside, and they go through such hardship together, where even by the middle of the book, that they've formed this such strong foundation that you really believe as the reader, don't you?
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of reading Outsiders with this, where the characters are, so close together. That it's a really nice, unique friendship that they have, and then they go through some extreme heartbreaks together, and on their own as well. And if you like reading about kind of school environments in fantasy, like The Name of the Wind, Book of the Ancestor, I think that's similar to as well, isn't it? Then go check out Blood Song. You could read it as a standalone. There are 2 others after this, but I've only read the first one, and it perfectly wraps up, and I absolutely adore it. Valen Alsorna is one of my favourite characters. He's beautiful. But it is heartbreaking. It's really sad.
Oh, it is.
It ends on some very bitter notes, doesn't it? But yeah, it's beautifully written, and I can't believe that this is Anthony Ryan's debut. And it's reminded me that I need to go check out more Anthony Ryan. He actually had a book out recently called The
Pariah. That's exactly what I was going to talk about.
So go check out his pitch of The Pariah on our channel on the August Reads if you're interested in seeing what Anthony Ryan is. That's it. On what Anthony Ryan is writing next. On to the last one.
So this is the last one. We didn't do this in order of like our 10th favourite book, 9th, 8th.
No.
Because that was too hard. But this is the last one
on our list of best fantasy books that we have ever read.
And this is, for me, Fool's Quest by Robin Hobb. Another Hobb book. You can tell that we've actually got quite similar tastes, haven't we? It's quite strange.
We have a similar taste.
It's quite strange. We've got a lot of the same authors, but the different books by them.
Yeah.
Interessante. So we obviously like the themes, but maybe we can do a deep dive into the psychology of that. Maybe it's just because we want to be different from each other.
Can you just analyse us, please? Why do we have things that are similar but different?
I feel That's going to be quite a project for Sarah Rees. But
Yeah.
okay, so Fool's Quest is the second instalment in the final trilogy that has Fitz in it, and it's called
Yep.
Fitz and the Fool. By this point, Fitz and the Fool are two of your favourite characters in the
love
world
the Fool.
ever. You're going to love him so much more. You've only had one book with him so
Yeah.
far. And oh my,
Speaking
this is the
riddles,
only
I love
book
it.
ever to make me cry in happiness. Let's just not cry with sorrow, not cry from loss, but cry from happiness and just sheer relief. And it's not even at the end. It's at about halfway through the book. So it really, usually you can kind of like build yourself up and prepare yourself for a really heartbreaking moment.
Yeah.
You didn't have time. It was just like bang, just sprung upon you, and I was sobbing.
Okay, I'm binging this now.
It was like I'd been like stabbed in the leg.
Yeah.
I was crying that much, but it was a good
How do
feeling.
you know?
It was a good, it was a really good feeling, and I think that we've talked about already Robin Hobb's amazing prose and how she just brings characters to life. They seem so real, and we've already talked about that. And I'm looking forward to doing some Hobb reviews on the channel.
Yeah.
So because I've already said what I love about Robin Hobb's writing, I won't repeat it all again and regurgitate everything I said last video and what you've already said. But yeah, if you are interested in watching some reviews, which we've not got up already, go and watch
Check out
Jimmy
read,
Nuts, which is the
watch.
Fantasy Nutwork channel. He's done reviews for all of her books, and they are so insightful. And if this is going to be a book for you, you will know after that.
Yeah. Oh, Jimmy
Video.
sells books so well. I love watching his reviews.
Well, he does it in a way where you know if it's not going to be a book for you. But if
Exactly.
it is going to be a book for you, you know as well.
Yeah, and there are no spoilers, so go check that out. And my final one is Cold Iron by Miles Cameron.
Oh, you're shouting
And,
a bit.
Sorry, Miles Cameron is someone I consider a friend. I'm lucky enough to, and I love his writing. I find it so immersive. I love that Miles Cameron wears his influences on his sleeve. You can really see what he's inspired by and what kind of story he wants to tell, and exactly as it's sewn on his sleeve. So whenever you see him, just look at his arms. But anyway. That sounded strange. Sorry, Christian. But Cold Iron is one of my favourites because of the fantastical setting it has. Christian Cameron's really inspired by Middle Ages, the Byzantine Empire, and you really see that. I feel like the city is based on Constantinople, and with those kind of Middle Eastern influences, as well as European and Italian as well. So yeah, I absolutely love this because the main character, Arantha, he's kind of that farm boy, classical trope, but he's going to university, and he's by no means the best at whatever he does whatsoever. He just kind of floats along, but he's got a personality that he is attracted to dangerous opportunities, I would say.
He just sucks in without meaning
exactly.
to, isn't he?
And what I love is that it feels like you're just reading about Arantha living his life. That things aren't, I love the books 2 and 3 go into much more epicness, which I really adore. But Cold Iron is my favourite of the 3 because it focuses a little bit more on how Arantha lives his life, and it builds the foundations of the world as well as the characters that he meets. He goes out, he makes friends, he makes enemies, he falls out with his friends, he makes lovers. Exactly. It feels very natural, very real. And I love reading Christian Cameron's writing, Miles Cameron's writing, when he kind of takes that approach with his stories. It's really, really fun. I always felt like I wanted to be Arantha. He was that fun, and I love how he learns to wield a sword. He meets characters who are willing to teach him little things, and he always picks up something from any character, whether they're a friend or foe or in between. But Cold Iron is so much fun. It's got a very different feel to many other kind of medieval inspired fantasy stories. So if you want to check out a fresh environment, inspiration, setting, there you go. They go check out Cold Iron, the Masters and Mages series. A bookmark.
A new one.
Another one. But yeah, so I love this one. Go check it out.
With Cold Iron, I love how he balances the action, which he's great at, but also the scholarly aspects, doesn't he? Where you're not told about every single page he reads, but you feel his excitement about learning, don't you? And I think that's something that we need more of that in fantasy.
And he's at a university. Many of us have been to university, and it actually feels kind of like you're there, although I didn't get to any sword fights when I was there, unfortunately.
Or fortunately.
Or fortunately, depending on who wins or loses, I guess. But that is my final pick.
So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed us talking about our top 10 fantasy books. We'll be doing our top 10 series, and I think next month we're planning on doing our top 10 historical reads. But for now, I hope you've really enjoyed this video. Please like it if you have. enjoyed it. That is, and subscribe.
Even if you haven't enjoyed it, just click like.
And
it helps out massively.
And subscribe if you want to be notified about some of our future videos.
Yes.
And if you want to support the channel, we've got a Patreon in the description, but by no means, you do not need to do that. Just thank you for watching this to the end. I know we've gone on quite a few tangents, so it's quite a feat to get to the end of this.
Yeah, because you went on one when...
That's what happens when these videos end. We just tally up what the other person did. But we love each other whilst on camera. So thank you for watching The Brothers Gwynne. Truth and courage.
The Brothers Gwynne.
It's worrying how you got that so quickly. The Brothers Gwynne. Oh! The Brothers Gwynne.
Stop saying The Brothers Gwynne.
Say The Brothers Gwynne.
The Brothers Gwynne.